Welcome to Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc, the wildest mixed tag team in podcasting where the kayfabe drops and the chaos takes over. Let's ring the damn bell.
Headlock tight, heels on the prowl, dropping elbows, hearing growl, feel the foul. No script here, just real, no bluff. Kayfabe crack, now the dirt gets rough. Headlocks, heels, havoc in the zone. Step in the ring, chaos at your home. No filters, no mask, just raw bare tone. Wrestling unscripted, we on the throne. Title bells, mic checks, crowd going crazy. Drop truth bombs, leaving lines feeling hazy. Beyond the kayfabe, past the charade, where legends are born and stories get made. Headlock, stop it, who's hitting the mat? Welcome to the havoc where the real talk's at. Tune in, step through, leave the fake at the door. Headlocks, heels, havoc, now hear the roar.
Welcome to Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am 1/3 of the greatest mixed tag team in podcasting, the legend J-Mac. With me, as always, is everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Slam.
What's up?
And missing from the show today, unfortunately, is the Viper. She's having some technical issues, so hopefully she can tune in and watch us and get those straightened out and join us here in a little while. But if not, we love you, Vipers. Get back to us soon. And don't forget, before we get started, to like, share, subscribe, and follow so that we can bring you this great content every week. We want to continue to bring you great shows. Today we have a special guest. We're starting out the new year with the Professor Bear from the Professor Bear Society. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Actually, it's the Wrestling Society.
That's right.
I don't want my co-CEO to be thinking I'm trying to take over.
There you go. Hey, I apologize about the Freudian slip there. That's right. It is. It's the Wrestling Society Network, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Professor Bear.
Well, I guess the short of it, I am a longtime wrestling enthusiast. Some people call me a professor. Some people call me a bear, thus Professor Bear. I have a lot of knowledge. I can go back to as a little kid sitting in. I'm born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. So Knoxville is one of the towns that don't get a lot of credit for its wrestling history.
Yep.
And
Smoky Mountain.
Man, we had some great history here, and I can remember watching Joe LeDuc, the Ron and Don Wright, Robert and Ron Fuller.
Yep.
It's just been a natural thing for me, and luckily enough, I never stopped watching it. I consume as much wrestling as possible, and with my partner Brady Owens, his genius ideal of the Wrestling Society Network, he's been able to give me a format where I can let my knowledge off and have fun with it.
Yeah. That's all we're here to do is have fun with wrestling. You know, that's I've said it several times on several shows. I feel like wrestling has a way of bringing people together who would never even walk into a room and think to walk up to each other and talk to each other. But you walk into that arena and you're both screaming for, Stone Cold or whoever the local indie favorite is. Wrestling can build a lot of bridges.
Yeah. When I go to indie shows, I always say that I'm going to another family reunion because it's more family that I didn't realize I had, and getting to know them and their level of getting the whole tree together. So
most definitely. Like I've noticed that with the indie scene, it's very tight knit. You know what I'm saying? Especially the local shows and stuff and everything. And like, I love it. I fell in love with indie wrestling as far as like, you know, I'm repeating myself for the umpteen hundredth time on this show, but I didn't know anything about indie wrestling. And to be honest, I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think Uncle Slam really knew much about it either, other than just, you
Honestly,
know,
not really. I mean, you see advertisements, around town or something like that, or you see it talk about something on TV that you really don't think about doing, or that it's not going to be up to the same standard as a WWE show or something like that. And then you go and you're very surprised that it's completely different from like what you thought.
yeah. And it is. It's, you know, and like you were talking earlier, Professor Bear, when we were off camera, you know, it's got that personal feel to it. You can't go to a WWE show and scream at, you know, Bianca Belair or, you know, whoever's in the ring that you want to scream at, and them turn around and look right at you and point at you and say, you know, shut your mouth, you know, or what, you know, give it back to you. You go to an indie show, and I don't know how many times, man, there's a group of kids that always come to the EWA shows that we go. That's Elite Wrestling Alliance, by the way. If anybody look them up on YouTube, great shows. But there's a group of kids that are always there, and it's the same kids, you know, and that's what people don't realize. The kids bring the parents in.
Yeah,
You know, so you know, but with these kids, man, they constantly are up on the guardrail every match, you know, every entrance, screaming, yelling, blah blah blah, and them wrestlers turn around, they give it to them. You know, the managers. You know, we had Bobby Blade on last episode, and you know, we were talking to him about how it's gotten to the point with him to where he doesn't even have to cut a promo anymore. The first time I went, he was talking, and people were booing. Now, when we go and that man walks out with a microphone, he can't get a word in edgewise. So he just gets to work by going out there and listening to people boo for 5 minutes and then go back. You know, I mean, what could be better? You know, you've done your job when that's where you're at.
Oh, definitely. The thing that I love too, like you said, you go to particular shows and you come ingrained with the wrestlers because they notice who comes and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And it comes to a point, it's like, oh wow, you're back. Man, I'm glad. Everything okay? I hadn't seen you in the last few shows. And it gives you again that sense of family, and you get to be more invested with the wrestlers. You want to see them succeed. You want to see them. So if they make it to the next level and you see them, it's like, oh my God, let me tell you about him. Man, and you feel like you help them get further in their career. And it feels like, wow, I got further in my career. I can't wrestle, but he's my avatar.
Right.
Wow. So that's what I love about it. Like I said, I grew up in the 80s, the late 70s, 80s wrestling, and of course it was different then. You didn't have your internet and anything, so when you went to a show, they had to sell you on the show, give you a reason to come back. You had to get invested. And what I'd like to call now, I call the renaissance of the territory days, because it's territory. You can wrestle in so many different promotions now. And now you don't have to say, hey, I want to see this show in California. Well, I'm not going to go all the way to California. Well, I don't have to. They have YouTube. They have streaming services. They have so many different ways to get wrestling. So now, not only am I getting my local, I'm getting to see what they do in California, in New York and 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 over the world, and I can see different styles of wrestling. When, of course, again, when I grew up, you just had your local, and if you were local, you had the TV station wrestling. Or if you were like my family, you were blessed enough you could afford cable. So, man, I used to watch Georgia Championship Wrestling. I watched uh, what was it, Continental Championship Wrestling. I watched every blue moon when it would come on here. I got to watch Memphis Wrestling. I got to watch World Class. I got to watch, of course, WWF at the time. I got to watch AWA. So I got to see different styles. And back then, too, you could move to a different um, territory and use the same gimmick. You could actually reuse what you use somewhere else because you wouldn't worry about people seeing it or knowing it.
Yeah.
Especially with the
There was
local
no,
TV affiliates and stuff and everything. You
there was
know,
no cell phones. You
right?
know,
With
so
no
you have
cell
where
phones.
somebody posting on the internet and then 10,000 people seeing it before you even get to the next county or state.
And you couldn't
Exactly.
sneak a camcorder in because it was the size of a mini refrigerator.
And if you could, and see, if you could afford that, you were fancy. So,
Yeah, that's it.
so that's the thing. So now, and I like to look at these wrestlers as their blessing because now you can promote yourself without having to go different places. If you have like our we have podcasting, you can promote yourself through the podcast. You never know who is watching your work. So there are so many different elements of helping you grow to become a wrestler, but there's no substitution in my eyes of going out to different territories because you have to learn how to work crowd. This false narrative that wrestling is all the same, it's not.
No.
You have Southern style wrestling, you have lucha libre, you got the
British strong style.
exactly. So you have so many different
Japanese.
ways, and crowds are totally different. Where in Japan, they don't clap for moves and stuff. They're real rigid and respectable. For us in the South, oh hell, we're gonna make noise.
Yeah.
We're gonna boo you out the place. We're gonna let you know how we feel. And in Cali, they're a little like I said, it's just different places. So
Yeah.
you have to learn to work styles and be able to command a crowd. If you can't get a crowd, learn how to work a crowd, then you're in trouble. That's the basic. You have to learn how to work a crowd. And if it's not going the way you intended or you went over it, you may have to change over in the fly. Be able to talk to your opponent like, man, this ain't working. Okay, do this. Let's do it. And be able to move and feel your crowd and be able, okay, this is not working. Let's go this way. Oh, we got them now. We can go.
Well, here, let me ask a question real quick. So, do you think wrestlers that work out their moves like ahead of time, that kind of hinders them because, you know, you're kind of set in a certain pattern or you're doing a certain thing, like compared to, say, somebody that just works it on the fly who can adjust if, say, the crowd's not into it, like you said, and, like, do something else? Because, like, we were talking to Bobby Blade the other day, and a lot of wrestlers, you know, they go through the move, you know what I'm saying? It's all worked out like ahead of time, you know, what's going to go on, it's, you know, a lot more pre-planned instead of just working towards how the crowd's going or whatever. Do you think that that's kind of hurts people, like if it is more worked out than if it's on the fly in the ring?
I think that if you're new to the business, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
Because again, and let me first say and let it be known, I've never wrestled. So I
Mm.
do not, if you're a wrestler out there, I'm not trying to insult you that I know better than y'all. I am
Yeah.
not. This is just my opinion from me watching wrestling. But with that being said, I think that when you're learning, that's okay. Okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. That's fine. But then you have to become, be able to, um,
Learn the psychology of wrestling, kind of
yes,
like
go
how
to
to
the
work a
next
crowd.
level. Go to the next level
Yeah.
because you one day you are going to be the veteran. You
Mm.
need to be able to control the crowd. You need to be able to work with your opponent. Again, if you want to make money in this business, you have to learn all different aspects of this business. Just like with us being podcasters, what good does it do if all of us podcasters are doing the exact same stick?
Right.
It does us no good. We're
Yeah.
all going to be stuck at this level.
Mm.
But if your podcast has where y'all go over this and this, you're funny, you have a different thing, well, okay, it takes you above the standard. And that's anybody who does anything, you want to be the best at.
Yeah.
So you have to learn crafts, your craft. If I have a bad show, okay, I need to learn from that. What did I do that turned people off? Okay. And look at my comments. Okay. Oh, you didn't like the way I did that. Okay, I can see that. Okay, maybe I need to stop doing that. But then look at what they like. Oh man, we like you because you don't say all your words correctly. You stutter. You're unique. Oh shit! Let me. I can make that happen all the time. Never know what this word means. I can play with that. So
Right.
that's what, to me, it tells you the level of your experience. So would I fault you for having to go A, B, C?
Yeah.
No. But at some point, you should be able to go, man, okay, cool. I'm wrestling you. Look, I'm not about to sit here and try to remember no matches, man. I got 1,000 things on my head. We're following in the ring.
What's the finish? That's all we need
Yeah,
to know.
that's
What's the
it.
finish?
Who's going over, and is it a certain way we got to do it? Oh, we don't. I see you in the ring.
Right. And well, just a prime example of that too was the Rock Hogan match. Like they didn't like. I think it was Rock wanted to kind of plan some stuff and
Yeah.
everything, or they had some stuff planned, and then they got out there and that crowd. Like I think I remember Hogan saying that like the whole stare down thing, with them just looking left and looking right and everything, totally came out of nowhere because it was just they were feeding off the crowd. They were like, okay, let's throw that out. You know what I'm saying? What we planned, this is not the crowd we've got for that. We need
Exactly.
this. And look what they did. You know, I ain't gonna say Hogan ever had a great match in the States. You know, he had plenty of good matches overseas, but in the
Yeah,
States, you know, and like we've talked, you know, they found a formula for Hogan and it worked. And the man made a whole lot of money doing that formula.
Yeah.
So you can't say much about it, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, that's probably one of his best matches. And it was just from the psychology.
and that too to me is, I had a conversation with someone, and we were talking about how it's a lost art form, and it's a shame that a lot of people don't know psychology as well as they should. You see it a lot more on the indie circuits because you can play. You're not in front of cameras and you can do things. But a lot of times you will see in the bigger stages where guys and girls, okay, we're playing this going this way, and they going that formulated way. The crowd's like, this, no, boo, boring, and then they don't know how to adjust. They don't know how to win the crowd back over. So it's hard to, you can't progress yourself if you stay one way all your career. You can't.
You have to be able to adjust.
Exactly. And there's only a few people that come to mind that like stayed babyface all their career. Only person that I can think of is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Tito Santana was that way too, though.
Yep. See, there you go.
But very few. No,
very few. And you had to learn where you were at, and how the crowd looked at you. Because, you know, again, everybody, I think every wrestler, we throw stuff at the wall. We just want to see what sticks.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I think the prime example of that was the John Cena heel turn.
Yes.
When it first happened, you would have thought the second coming of Hulk Hogan turn heel was there. It was great. Everybody was on board.
It was mainstream media.
Yeah. Just loved it.
Yep.
But then they sucked on the execution after that. It was bad. It was certain points of like, why in the hell is you doing that? What? Come on, man.
He became whiny John Cena.
And it wasn't even the whining to me, because some of your best heels are whiners. And his positivity, he had to go 360 degrees against what he was. So I didn't have a problem with that. What I had the problem with is the creative team. Like, one of the biggest problems was when they went overseas and John cut a promo. Great promo. But then the next week they went to another country. He basically did the same promo. And then Cody came out and just ruined it. And it's like, you're a heel. You don't put up with that crap.
Right.
and it's like, then it started going downhill. So instead of trying to correct it, okay, we screwed up here, let's move this, do this. No, they were like, yeah, let's turn them back face. And I necessarily didn't have a problem with the turn back to good old John Cena. The execution sucked. Hey, you know what, Cody? After all these months and been cheating and stuff, you said I was doing wrong. So hey,
I'm doing wrong. I'm gonna be good again.
I'm back to good old John. What?
Yeah, it was terrible. The whole thing was terrible.
Yeah, like it was kind of like you said. At first, it was a good idea, but then the execution killed it, and it just wasn't believable to me. Like, he just looked like he was pouting more than he did, like he was a heel. It was just cheesy. And like you saw, you know, that he was going to come back to be a babyface anyway. I mean, he was going to turn back to babyface.
And another problem was, if you set a plan in motion, make sure all your pieces are there. When you knew The Rock was not going to be available, you should have never inserted The Rock in that.
No.
Or you made it a short time Rock thing and Rock can't be here. Hey, Rock, would you mind doing these promos?
Right.
Just send in these promos talking about how you and John talked and how y'all taking over the world and stuff. But they didn't think. I always call it lack of long story booking. And WWE has a bad reputation of doing that. Now, Triple H, and I know everybody gives Triple H they give him the business. Oh my God, Triple H, he's no Vince, and oh this, that. Well, here's a couple of things that people never think about. One, Triple H is not the boss. He is just the head guy. It's different when you are a boss. When you're a boss, you can do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
When you're just the head guy, you have to answer and change formulas, whether you like, hey, that makes no wrestling sense or not. Hey, change it.
A la
Okay.
WCW.
See, that's exactly what I was going to say. That was the downfall of them when that corporate came in and Ted Turner backed that way and said, I don't,
Exactly.
killed them because they don't have a clue, how to run wrestling. Like all they see is spreadsheets and money and assets and stuff. They don't see wrestlers for what they are.
And it's funny to me how Tony Khan gets dragged through the mud. Oh, he can't book. He doesn't do this. Tony, oh my God, he's just a fan with money. Blah, 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 this. Blah, 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 this. Tony Khan is a lot more intelligent than people want to give him credit for. Now, there are things, yes, he should take his hands out of and let other people do, but he is the closest thing to Vince that we're going to have right now. And for everything that everybody praising Vince, want Vince to come back, we have short-term memory. You remember the last 5 years of Vince, how we cried he need to retire?
Oh, it was getting bad, man. I'm not gonna lie. It was getting real bad. I thought we were going to get some gobbledygookers back and stuff and everything. I mean, I'm not
joking. To save the day, shit.
Well, and it was like Vince, and like you said, for all his genius, Vince had his downfalls of, unless you're 300 pounds and muscled out the gills, you're not going to be the world champion in my company. And unless the fans just totally demanded it, like with Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, however you want to say it. But, either it was things like that, but at least Vince listened when we finally put our foot down. That's the one thing that I did like about Vince is he may not like the fact that Daniel Bryan was his world champion, but he knew that it's what the fans want, and the fans are the ones that spend the money.
He knew what to do, what was best for business.
That's it.
And when he didn't, I'm taking all the personal, crappy assault things out. Vince, he definitely was a promoter. We don't have a lot of promoters anymore.
No.
We have businessmen.
Mm-hmm.
We need promoters you need a promoter who knows the business of wrestling. And the businessman needs to be on the outside and talk to the promoter and let them go, hey, no, I understand that you want the money here, but I'm gonna have to get here to bring in more money, more sales, and be a balance.
Yeah.
And now it's hard to balance that.
And going back to what you were saying about Tony Khan, even honestly and truthfully, I see what you're saying with him, talking, excuse me, I couldn't get it out, about him being the closest thing to Vince right now is because of the fact that, even with Ted Turner didn't run the day-to-days of WCW. He hired somebody to do it, like a Triple H, type person, so, right. Right. But it was, he made sure that somebody was there to do the day-to-days, he didn't say Vince's finger was on everything, and Tony Khan's finger is on everything. Now, the thing that people also don't take into consideration with Tony is, what is he now, in this fifth or sixth year?
6 years.
6 years.
Amazing.
Right. It's lasted more than half a decade, which a lot of people didn't think it would last more than a couple of years. So, and it's obviously an alternative of a place to go if, you don't want to be associated with a WWE product. But the thing of it is the thing with Tony Khan now is people don't realize that when he first started, he was where Vince was when Vince was a teenager learning the business from his dad. Tony's just learning how to run wrestling companies. How, like you said, he was smart enough to realize, I'm not selling out these big venues, so let me cut down the venue sizes. And that way we will sell them out, and that way, the money's there. We're not wasting money. Right. So I think a little grace needs to be given to Tony as far as all that goes. Now I think they're in the stretch of, now we've got to start giving out a solid product, so we are not necessarily a Monday Night War head-to-head competitor, but we are a legit competitor. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense, because here's the key that a lot of people don't realize. And they talk about, well, AEW can't beat NXT and barely, but they got on WWE's radar that they were doing something, and they started moving. So they had to, well, we don't take y'all seriously, but we're gonna counter program y'all.
Right.
We're gonna make sure that we got something over here. Y'all ain't with the big guys and stuff, but so of course, again, competition breeds creative thoughts. And if you don't have competition, you get complacent, stale. So
last 5 years of Vince's reign.
Yeah. I love where wrestling is today. I love that you don't have to. I love the fact that you do not have to make it to WWE, AEW to have a great career, make money to support your family. You can actually live on the indies once again.
Yeah.
It was a point that you couldn't. If you was a wrestler, shit, you probably had. Excuse me,
go ahead. We cuss all the time.
I meant to ask beforehand. I just think about my show and how I just.
You're totally fine. No big censored signs will come up on the screen or nothing. I promise.
Sometimes, people just love to wrestle. You don't have to have 3-4 jobs and wrestle to support your family. You could wrestle and support your family.
Yep. That's again, I've always looked at it like, well, not always, but here recently, since we've started going in the last half of a year to the EWA events, and and started paying attention to independent wrestling more and everything, like, I just hearken independent wrestling to, it's just the territories of modern day, and it's good wrestling, good quality wrestling. It's good family fun. It's inexpensive. Uncle Slam has said many times, you can take your kids and take the whole family to an independent event. You might be able to take yourself to a WWE event. And even after the WWE event, you ain't even going to be able to hit up the dollar menu, because it's going to take all your money to go to the event, and buy one $50 beer while you're there, and right. It just makes no sense when I can take my whole family, and then afterwards We can go to Cheddar's or something, sit down and eat and everything. It's more affordable. It's just, and I'm not going to say it's a better product or a worse product, but it's a great alternative. And it's great that the sport has all these alternatives now, and that they're getting highlighted. It's not just that there's independent wrestling. If you don't want to go to WWE, it's, man, check this out. This is, these guys, I tell people all the time, the quality of matches in AEW far surpass the matches in WWE. Just the quality of their matches and, stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying WWE's matches aren't good, but there's a lot of rinse and repeat in WWE matches. And like Will Ospreay, like that dude's amazing in the ring. Like I would hearken him to being up there with like people like Shawn and Ricky. That he's just that good in the ring. So, I mean, I don't know. I love wrestling. I love the way it's, the state of wrestling and everything. It's not, don't just be fooled, people, that you got to watch WWE to enjoy wrestling. There's all kinds of wrestling out there, and it doesn't necessarily have to be advertised on TV to be great either. Roku channel got NWA, which I love, and it's just go out there and find what you like and watch it.
And that's one of the things that with WSN, our founder Brady Owens, this is all his brainchild, and he was a wrestling fan growing up, and he always wondered, man, why can't I find wrestling when I want to? And one of the dreams, he was like, I want to build a network where people can watch wrestling 24/7, and you can find different types of wrestling. You can find documentaries, bios. If you're a big wrestling collector, we got collector shows. You got the big video game market. We have our own promotion, WSN 2K. It's so many different aspects. Like we have children's cartoons, different wrestling. So we want to give wrestling a place where it's not the same old. And you can look, if you're just getting into wrestling and want to learn some of the history, we have guys and girls who talk about the history of wrestling. We have different avenues and making it simple for everyone. Now, I know there are a lot of different other networks out there. Would I put our product up against theirs? Yes. Now, am I biased towards ours? Of course I am, but I'm also a realist. Like, I think it's IWTV, Independent Wrestling TV. They have so many different promotions that you can follow. They have pay-per-view. And they are great. I tell no lie about that. But one of the major differences between theirs and ours is doesn't cost you anything. Now we've been down. The website is. The app has been down because we're getting a different app. We're working on it. We're trying to improve on it. But this month, it'll be back up. And you're going to see, and we have movies with wrestlers. If you want to watch a movie and has wrestlers, man, we have it. We have so much different content that you can use in our app. And it's free. We're not making a dime off of this. Jesus, we're not. Man, and I tell you know why. It's killing my pocket. But um, it's something that we believe in,
Mhm.
and we think that people will enjoy it. When we get to the point of, hey, we are going to have to charge, there people are going to be like, man, I don't mind paying this. It's still cheaper than this, and we get so much different things. And we're working on trying to get more independent promotions, so you can see their stuff. It, you, we're trying to to get wrestling in one general place. Because now you have to go through YouTube. Jesus, let me put in wrestling. Oh, Jesus, it's like 20,000 wrestling things. But that's
Mhm.
not wrestling. I want pro wrestling. I'm not talking about amateur wrestling. Okay, let me put in pro wrestling. Oh, Jesus, I don't want the 80s. I want this. So there's so much stuff, and you can Google, yes, but it takes so much time to figure it out and find. We're just trying to put it in one central location to make it easier for people.
And that's it. Instead of having, WWE Network, whatever TNA app is, you've got a home for just wrestling.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be any specific wrestling. It's wrestling. That's awesome. Like I was going to say, because I was trying to find the WSN app the other day, and it wasn't popping up anymore and everything. So now you've answered my question about
Yeah,
it. It's just down right now.
and I've been trying to make sure I get that message out because I'm like, no, I'm not lying. I promise you. There are people who watch the app and swear by our app. We're trying to do so much and make it better, make it easier. So again, sometime this month it will be back up, and once it does, you best believe I, we're going to be advertising it. We're going to be doing everything possible to let people know, come here.
Well,
And
I mean, I
and
checked it out before. It was I was in the stuff that I looked on it, and it wasn't very much at that time, but I I was like, this is pretty cool. It's a lot of stuff is here and everything, and plus the videos of him talking, and saying, hey, we're trying to do this with the app and stuff like that and everything. At least it's being before the app goes down, it's not like, hey, it's just going away and people are like, where's it at? Where's it at?
Yeah.
At least he's letting people know, hey, we're doing this to improve what we're, bringing you so that we can bring you as much as we possibly can.
yeah, and one of the things that with me doing it, I think we're hitting our third year in June. Oh, I think it's that. I'm old, so my dates and stuff get mixed up. But
It's all right. I understand that.
We all say that.
um, you know, we're about giving opportunities. We want to give people opportunities. Now, we try to be honest with people also, and it's not to offend, not to tell people, but we have a standard for our app. We want good quality product. So I had to have conversations with promotions that I really didn't want to, and wanted to do it in a professional, nice way. Let them know, hey, you have something, but um, maybe one thing I noticed, you don't have commentary. You definitely have to have commentary.
Hmm.
Your matches are phenomenal. Your athletes are phenomenal. Well, you need commentary, and you need to invest in better cameras. I'm not saying y'all are garbage. I'm just telling you. And sometimes people take things to heart.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first one to admit I've had conversation with some promotion. I'm like, man, we should do business. Yeah, y'all too small, but thanks. And man, I get off the phone or the internet. Boy, I'm hot.
Call me small.
Yeah,
Roll
who they
in.
talking to?
Roll in. Man, y'all suck. I ain't promoting y'all nothing. And finally, I realized I understand where they're coming from. I understand why they see, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with being honest with people. It's the way you presented it, and I've it's maybe once or twice I've had some rude people. Generally, when I talk to people, they're very nice, understanding, and if you don't want to do business, no problem. Just hey, I'd rather you tell me up front instead of wasting my time and
That's it.
yours. It's like, hey, I saw this and we can offer this. Well, you know what? I think I like what I'm doing now by myself. No problem. I wish you all the luck in the world, and maybe we can revisit this conversation down the road.
Right. I mean, that's one thing that, well, not that I just say, but everybody says in the wrestling business, never say never. Because you don't know what 3 or 4 years is going to bring. I mean, at the end of the day, you could have the hottest podcast in the nation and everybody wants to be on it. And then, well, remember when you told me we were too small, and you don't want to be like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you don't ever want to close a door, but at the end of the day, like you said, the presentation of how you tell people things can, that can be the door opener or the thing that slams it in your face,
Or as my wife tells me, I'm so petty. It's like, well, does that offer stand? Well, we were going to let you come in for free, but now you're going to pay us if you want to get on our network.
Right.
We're big time now, so why I need you?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But again, we try to be humble and respectful to all. That's something very big that I learned. My parents taught me that. Try to be respectful and humble. And again, the people you crap up on going up are the same people you're gonna have to visit going down.
That's it. That's exactly it. Treat what is it? Treat the trash man the same way you would treat a CEO.
Yes, sir.
It's simple respect is, and that's that's the thing we're big on too. Is just be respectful. Don't bring up unnecessary drama, and let's work together and have fun, and talk some wrestling. Again, let's build bridges, not tear them down.
And that is just a perfect segue. I have to plug my show real quick.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Because this month I am doing a Wrestling Podcasters Appreciation Month. I am having different podcasters on my show to celebrate what we do for wrestling. It took me a while to understand the niche that we do for wrestling, and having wrestlers tell me, promoters tell me, and actually getting put into a Hall of Fame blew my mind. So I knew what I'm doing is important, not just for me, but for all of the fans. So I want to celebrate everyone. I want to give people their flowers. I want, hopefully, where you come on my show and some of my audience like, man, I like them. Oh man, I'm gonna have to start following you, and you'll get a bigger audience. And maybe some of your fans are like, man, he's pretty good. Let's follow. I'm gonna follow him too. There's so much space out there. We all want to be the top thing, but there's so much space, and it's enough room for all of us to eat. Why not there and have fun with it? Because it's fun. So that's what I'm doing this month. And quick spoilers. After this, we're going to be on my podcast.
Yes, sir. We're just gonna flip it over.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. We I'm going all this month. Um, the best way of finding when I'm going to be on with different podcasts, because time's all over the place, because I try to be flexible for all my fellow podcasters, is to go to YouTube at the Wrestling Society Network and subscribe. That way you'll get notifications when I'm having podcasts. And man, like I said, I'm all over the place. So you may want to catch a particular one. You can go back and watch it, because we do it live, but of course at there I have we have the recordings. And plus, too, we are on Spotify. So if you're driving, going to work, want to listen about wrestling, there you go.
That's it. That's us too. We're on Spotify, YouTube. As much as we can get on, we're on there. So let me ask you this. You said you grew up in the 70s and 80s era of wrestling and everything, what started you out on it. Who would you say that is your favorite era of wrestling? And if so, who is your favorite wrestler from that era?
Yeah, like most people, I when you, and this is something I've learned not just with wrestling, but with music and a lot of different things. When you want to think of a great time, you generally look back in your past.
Yeah.
And it holds a special place for you for whatever reason. So you tend to be biased towards past things. Now, with that being said, yes, I am definitely 80s child wrestler. The territories were my thing. Great. There's so many different wrestlers that inspired me and I enjoy. But if I had to name probably my favorite.
Okay, let me change it since it's so hard. As far as favorite, who is the wrestler that you seen and was like, oh, I've got to watch this?
Well, baby, you know the American Dream to come out any time, and he just tell you to put your hands up there next to my hands, and you'll feel the power, baby.
I love old Dusty, man.
Dusty.
Let me tell you about hard times, Ric Flair.
Way to talk to everybody. And one thing I'd tell you this funny story about Dusty. Now, as a kid, like I said, Dusty was my guy. So me and some of my friends went to an NWA fan fest, and Dusty was there. Oh my God, I'm in line. I get to meet Dusty. I'm standing going, I'm like one person behind before I meet Dusty. Dusty shake the guy's hand. I'm in my head, don't act like a fan. Be calm, cool. So I get up to Dusty. Go to shake his hand, he turns his back on. What the hell? And Dusty was talking to his manager. His manager saw how my facial expression changed, and I'm guessing that I must have had a really, really pissed off look on my face. His manager, I'm sitting there looking at them talking. His manager bumped Dusty. He's like, "Hey, you got a fan?" Well, I don't know what he said to him, but that's just what I took at. So Dusty turned back around and shook my hand, and I just walked off. I was so hurt and destroyed by my idol just shitting on me. I didn't want anything but just the handshake and just the anything. So for probably a year, I went on the hate Dusty train. Screw him. He's no American dream. So,
He's the real American nightmare.
Yeah, there you go.
he's nothing American. An American wouldn't do this to anyone. So after a year, and it was, I think, about the time where Cody and Dustin were teaming and everything. I said, I'm just sitting there and I'm just wanting to hate. And finally, it's like in the back of my mind, baby, you know I didn't mean that, baby. The dream has so much, baby. He got to do so much. How can you hate on the dream, baby? Come home, baby. Come home. And I was like, yes, Dusty, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love you, Dusty. I love you.
For sure.
So that moment, and I had another moment at that fan fest. So David Flair was there, and he had this booth set up with all his dad's stuff, and I had got up early, and we had the pre pass, so we got in an hour early. And so I'm down walking around, and I'm like, "Oh snap, David, how you doing, man?" Like he said, "Man, truthfully, I'm hungover." So me and him stood and talked for almost 30 minutes, and David was one of the coolest people I had ever met. He was such a great guy. And I was like, man, where you hung over, bro? I'm gonna let you rest up for. He's like, man, it's just part of the gig, and we just talked. And he was such an amazing young man that even though he couldn't live up to his father's career, I mean, there's not a lot of wrestlers who are second, third, fourth generation wrestlers that can measure up to their family legacy.
I can't think of one that's actually bigger than their father, or
Oh,
that's not
Well,
bigger.
Rock,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it usually, if you're successful as a second generation wrestler or a third generation, it's because you've become bigger than your predecessor.
yes.
Like Randy Orton,
Randy.
way bigger than Bob and his grandpa. You know
what
what I'm
about
saying?
Charlotte?
Charlotte.
As
Charlotte,
far as women,
Charlotte is definitely running a close second to Rick. The
Yeah.
only reason why I don't think she would ever pass Rick is because Rick is an icon. Even to this day, we can turn on the TV. Woo!
Yeah.
Rick
He's
stopped
everywhere.
he's a pop icon.
Yes, he stopped being a normal person years ago.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything but Ric Flair.
Yep. He is one that truly just took that gimmick and said this. And I've often asked, I asked this, I think it may have been to Bobby Blade, but do you think that the plane crash is why he lived his lifestyle the way he did, was because he realized, hey, this could all be gone in a moment's notice. And so I'm just going to live life to its fullest, as hard and as fast as I can. That way, if it does happen, and it happens suddenly like that, I've at least enjoyed my life and enjoyed being Ric Flair.
I think that with a lot of celebrities, you get so caught up into what you're doing that a lot of them lose themselves. I think Rick, because at that time, Rick was transcending to the level that we see today. And how many people can actually keep a balance of what I do for my job and who I am as a person? Rick just, I think, because, you know, you look at all the different marriages that Flair has had. Man, it's hard. I mean, you get women thrown at you anywhere you go.
Yeah.
You can go drink anywhere you want and don't have to pay. You created this lifestyle that people are just so envious of, and you're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna live it. Look,
Right.
who cares if I got money? Shit, I'm Ric Flair. I go have 2-3 matches. I make that in a minute. Well,
Right. I'll get it back.
like most of us, we don't think that time moves as fast as it does. We always think we're going to be young. That's why a lot of people who become millionaires are usually broke within 5 years. Because, oh, well, however I got that money, I can go remake more money. And I say like 70-75% of us know. So you got to learn how to save, how to be creative with your money and not live your gimmick. Flair just, like I said, he hadn't been himself probably since the late 70s.
He
He's
became
Ric
the
Flair.
character pretty much and stuff. He became
Exactly.
the boy.
Exactly. Where, like, if people see me out somewhere, I'm knowledgeable and stuff, but I still have my family.
Yeah.
And I have certain things that I won't do or say on podcasts. I have my private life that's private. And I know the difference. Flair's was doing it so long. That's why he was talking about he's drunk all the time. That's why a lot of wrestlers have substance abuse, because they're trying to cope with the pain, not just the physical pain, but the mental pain. You have a family. You ain't seen your kid. You're a father, but you're not a father. You're more of a stranger. You're a mother, but hell, you hadn't seen your child. You don't have the same relationship. And I think we as fans have to understand that and be very polite when we see them. I got a chance to talk to Harley Race's son and his ex-wife, and I told them, I thanked them. I said, a lot of fans won't thank you all. I said, but I'm gonna thank you for them, because I understand the sacrifices that y'all made. You had to let go of your father. You had to let go of your husband for all us strangers to enjoy him. You sacrifice. So thank you. And I think we as fans need to be more appreciative of people. When we see them out somewhere, I get it. I get excited. But if you see them with their family, have common respect. Leave them alone.
Let them enjoy their private time,
Yeah, the
because they
downtime.
don't get much of it.
Exactly.
It's sad too, because I've seen that. Like, I've got a funny story to tell. Years ago, I worked for Stanley Steamer, and when I worked for him, the guy that I was working with, he knew the driver. He knew that I was a big wrestling fan. Well, he looked at the list and called in, and we got our call to go to the next job. Well, the job was in Frankfort, Kentucky. Well, we got to the job and everything, and I'm thinking because he's telling me on the way up there, he's like, don't we can't be acting crazy or nothing, we got to be real professional at this house because it's somebody that's rich and famous and everything. So I'm thinking, okay, it's a senator or some kind of member of Kentucky's government or something like that because it's in Frankfurt. Well, we pull up and everything, and I go to knock on the door, and I kind of turned back around towards the truck, and he was like, no, turn around, be facing the person, be professional, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So I turned back around towards the door. About the same time I turned back around towards the door, I heard it starting to open. And whenever I looked up, like I was just in utter awe because there's Macho Man standing with a pair of crutches where he had blown out his ACL and had knee surgery. He's literally standing there in a pair of Superman boxers. And that's all he's got on. And I'm just sitting there like with my mouth down to my chin, and he's like, you gonna stand there and stare? You gonna come on in? I'm like, do I have permission? He was offering us a beer and everything, and I was like, I wish to God I could. But looking back on it, I don't work for Stanley Steamer no more, and I could have drank a beer with the Macho Man.
Work be damned.
Opportunity missed. But no, that was awesome, man, to get to meet him like that. But it's just it was cool to see him in that environment because he wasn't the Macho Man that I seen on TV. He was Randy Poffo. And that was totally different than, well, I say it was totally different, but when you walk around all day in Superman underwear, I guess you can do what you want to when you're the Macho Man. Plus, I didn't want to get a crutch upside the head or something either. So, an impromptu hardcore match right in his living room. That's all I needed. But
you would have lost.
Definitely, because I would have wilted real quick. I'd have been like, "Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. Macho Man."
So now I have to give you one of my stories. I used to work at Toys R Us, and it was a Tuesday morning, and I'm working in the electronic department, and the store was just opening. So I'm just standing at the gate, just bored, and I'm on the other side of the building of where the entrance is. Well, I'm looking, just leaning, and I saw this guy, and at first I'd like, God, that guy got to be tall if I'm noticing him from way far across the building. Then he kept walking closer, and I'm like, it's unusual to see a bald-headed white guy like that and tall. He got closer, and I'm like, damn, he's really tall. I'm 6'4". So I'm like, he's taller than me. He's tall. And I'm like, why is this guy sticking out to me? And I'm having this conversation in my head. He gets closer. Jesus, this guy is tall. Wait a minute. Why do I know this guy? Lo and behold, it's freaking Kane.
Oh, wow.
So he comes in the department, and I'm in my head, holy crap, it's Kane. Now, this is the time where Kane had had the mask off, and he was doing the bald-headed gimmick and stuff. And I think that's what triggered my whole thought process. Then he walked in, and I'm thinking, he's tall, but damn, I'm almost as tall as him. Bro, damn, I'm taller than I really think I am. So he's walked around. He asked me for help, and I helped him find a game for his daughter. And he rung him up, got him out of there. Well, of course, I didn't fanboy him. I didn't even was like, "Oh, you're Kane," and none of that. I was real professional. What blew my mind about it, Monday Night Raw was on the West Coast, and he made it back to Knoxville by 9 a.m. to go shopping for his daughter. I was like, holy crap, you're Kane. Wow. Then down the road, of course, he's our mayor now. And another quick funny one, my daughter was working at a dry cleaner, and she called me, and it was out the blue. So I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" Dad, what's wrong? Of course, and I'm in my head like, "Oh hell, now I got to get over there and kill somebody."
Mm.
Dad, what's wrong? What's wrong? Dad, you would never believe who I saw. Who? Dad, I'm gonna send you a picture. Okay, are you okay? Yeah. I'm gonna send you a picture. Okay. I'm still like, what the? How about it's Kane and my daughter taking a picture together?
Hey,
That's cool.
that's cool. Hey, and not only that, it's cool that she knows who they are too. You know,
Oh,
so
yeah. And she told me, she told him about me and everything, and he was. I don't agree with his politics, but he is a great guy. A matter of fact, where is it? So I like I said, working at Toys R Us, I collected wrestling figures.
oh, that's cool.
So I had found a bunch of them, and I decided, okay, I need money. I'm gonna sell them. My daughter went at me. She's like, "You ain't selling Kane. You ain't selling Kane." So I was like, "Okay." Then she saw, I can't. Was it a Jeff Hardy figure? It was another figure. Dad, you can't get rid of this one. Okay, you can have it. Then she saw the Macho Man. Dad, I like, baby, I cannot keep all of these if I want to make money. So I was like, you get one more. And she got I let her keep Macho Man. Then she saw Sting. I was just like,
You done made your choice. Stand by your decisions.
And my daughter is 25 years old. But that day I saw when we went took my figures to the place to sell. Oh, I saw her lose a little bit of herself because she didn't want to get rid of none of it.
That is awesome. Yeah, my daughter, she'll tell people straight up because we go every month to the EWA events, Elite Wrestling Alliance, and as a matter of fact, they got one on January 10th. New Beginnings, their quarterly pay-per-view, premium live event, whatever you want to call it nowadays. But they're doing that January 10th, and she'll tell people all the time, like I'll have PLE from WWE playing on TV or something. I'll be like, "Hey, you want to come in here and watch it with me?" She'll be like, "No, just tell me when Rhea Ripley or, some other person is on, and then I'll come and watch that match." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." She'll sit there and tell you, though, my wrestling's not that wrestling. My wrestling's EWA. She's a big indie fan, so I thought she's like, I don't like. Well, she doesn't say I don't like. She's like, I don't like it as much as EWA, and I think what it is she's got a Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc shirt that Uncle Slam made her, and she's got autographs everywhere on the back of it. And there's probably 2 or 3 autographs from every wrestler on there. And I'm like, "Honey, don't you have like so many autographs of theirs already?" She was like, "I need more." I'm like, you better be careful. They don't think we're bootlegging their autographs now. Every show you ask them for an autograph, they don't think we got a big stash of them sitting somewhere in a warehouse just trying to bootleg them once they get famous.
I love that. My wife, um, I was divorced and got remarried. So me and my wife, she knew I'm a big wrestling fan, so she tries to support it and everything. Well, okay, it's like, oh, we got to go to a WWE show when they come to town. Okay, we can do that. Well, whatever. Every time they came, something came up. We couldn't go, whatever. And I was like, hey, I'm about to go to this indie show. She was like, okay, I'll go with you. I'm like, okay. One time it took her. She loves indie wrestling so much better because of the interaction, the just everything. Like they had a particular match. We were sitting front row, and they're brawling, and the guys come over the barricade, and they buy me. Well, one of the wrestlers, he bumps into me. I'm like, okay, things happen. Well, he throws the guy back over the rail. He goes to do a springboard off the rail to drop kick him. Why does he step on my ankle? Jumps over it, does his move. He didn't get hurt. And I told my wife, I said, he come back around here, I'm going to punch him right in his damn face. So then they had the intermission, and the guys are out, selling their merch and stuff. And I said, hey, he came over. I said, hey, man, you stepped on my ankle, right? And he just looked at me and was like, before he could say, oh, I'm sorry, I was like, I'm going to kick your ass, right? And of course, he got a look on his face like, oh, I was like, man, I'm joking. I understand. It's just and I do stuff like that because I'm a big guy who don't realize how big I am.
Right.
So I know a lot of people look at me with that, like, oh my God, you're a big guy, you scary. And I'm like, hell, I'm 300 pounds. So I'm bigger than most of your wrestlers.
Yeah,
So,
I think if a 6'4", 300-pound guy walked up on me and said, hey, I'm going to kick your ass, I'd be like, what did I do wrong, buddy?
I'm just going to say sorry. I'm not even going to ask questions.
Right.
Sorry.
I'm sorry for whatever I did, whatever I'm thinking about doing, whatever I may do in the
Whatever
future.
you thought I did.
Right.
And so I enjoy him. And even to this day, when I see him, I'm like, my ankle. And he just breaks out laughing.
That's great. Yeah, my daughter, she loves, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Ethan Heyer.
Yes.
She loves Ethan. And they had a fatal four-way match a couple of shows ago, and he went through a table, did his finishing move through the table and was just laying there. Well, I looked over after the match and everything because it was the last match of the night. I looked over and my daughter was sitting there like on the ground, and I was like, are you all right? And like she turned and looked at me, and she like had tears starting to well up in her eyes. And I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I just hope Ethan's okay because he's just laying there. And I'm like, honey, I promise you he's okay. I was like, he's, he may lay there for a minute just to collect who he is, but he's okay. I promise. And about a minute later, he rolled out of the ring and, was sitting there saying hi and stuff. He gave her a hug and stuff and everything. So I was like, man, she's getting into it. I love it though. I love that she gets that emotionally attached to it. Cause if you're that emotionally attached to it, then it shows that you really truly have some, fan in you.
Yes, definitely. Me and my brother, so our father, like I said before, used to take us to wrestling all the time. So my brother called me up a few weeks ago, and he's like, hey, when the next time you going to wrestling? I'm like, when you asked, I'm going Wednesday. He said, oh, okay, cool. He said, I want to go with you. Okay, no problem. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, I can't remember how long me and my brother went to wrestling together. And he's like, I'm gonna bring my girlfriend's son with me. He's a wrestling fan. I'm like, oh, cool, no problem. He's 9 years old. He's never been to a wrestling match. So I'm like, man, we'll have a great time. And I'm like, let me see if I can pull a few strings and get us a ringside. Um, just so happened, the event we went to is Joe Kazana promotion, and I
Okay.
know Kazana's real well. And I reached out to dang, I always get KJ and AJ mixed up. But I reached out to AJ, and I was like, hey man, I've never asked you for anything. I was wondering if maybe you could get us some ringside seats. If you can, I understand, no sweat. I understand. I don't mean to bug you. Well, I never heard from him, so we went. And when we got to the place, I asked the gentleman, could he get him to come to the door? So instead of him coming, it was his dad. He's like, "Oh, Professor Bear, how you doing?" I'm like, "Man, I'm doing great." He's like, "Man, I haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad to see you. See, everything's okay." I said, "Yeah, man, it's just life being life." And we laughed. I said, "Hey," I said, I want to ask a favor." I said, "I've never asked y'all for anything." I said, "This my little nephew. He's never been to wrestling before. I was wondering if we could get to ringside." And he's like, "I tell you what," he said, if you pay the general admission, I got you a ringside." I said, "Oh, I appreciate it." Well, the guy who was sitting there, and he started talking to my nephew. He's like, "Man, you ready to see some wrestling?" And my nephew face, because we didn't tell him he was coming to wrestling. And so he looked at my brother, he looked at me, and was like, and then we told him, like, yeah, we didn't tell him. He's like, "Oh man, oh man, you're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have a great time." So he's like, "Yeah," the guy working the door, he said, "So what we're doing?" He's like, "Go on, let him in." So he got us ringside seats. And my nephew, he's just boiling. Just, oh man, all right. And I was like, "Yeah," I said, "You want to meet the world champion?" He's a friend of mine. And I had, matter of fact, I was his first interview after he won the world title. He gave me that.
That's awesome. That is cool.
Oh man, Silas Mason is such a solid person. Like I said, all of them are really great people. But so we're ringside, and the Kazanas took on, I can't remember the tag team, but it was a tables match. And they put him through the table. The ref was knocked down. And then one of their henchmen came in, knocked the Kazana out, rolled him, and put him on the wood and stuff. When the ref woke up, he saw the Kazanas through it. They won the titles. Well, we're sitting right there beside where the table exploded. And my brother was like, "You want a piece of that table? Grab you a little piece." So he grabbed him a little piece. And this gentleman knew him from nowhere. He didn't know me, but he was just a really, really great guy. He was like, "Oh, you don't want that. You want a bigger piece." When I tell you this big of the table, he grabbed him.
That is awesome.
And he's like, "Man, he said, "Yeah, you can get some autographs and stuff." So of course the main event was Silas Mason defending his title. He won, of course, and he gets out the ring. Now, I wasn't going to try to talk to him because, I was going to see if I could wait until after the show. Well, someone else ran up to him, and he took pictures, and he came around. I said, Silas. Well, before that, let me back up. When he was in the ring, he was walking around, and my nephew just still in awe. And he looked at me. He said, "Hey, Professor, should I kick his ass?" I was like, "Yep, do it." He's like, "I sure am." My nephew like, "Oh, you know him?" I was like, "I told you I know him." So when he came around, I said, "Hey, do you mind taking a quick sign the table for him?" He's like, "No." He's like, "You got a pen?" Gentleman beside us, they had one. He signed the table. Then I was like, "Hey, this is the first event. Can I get a quick picture?" He got a picture with him. Oh my God. That made me remember when I was a kid.
Yep.
And he afterwards, the wrestlers coming out, he got to meet some, but this one particular wrestler, and I'm bad with names and I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but he wrestles for Coastal Championship Wrestling, and he's currently the Tennessee heavyweight champion. He stood there and talked with my nephew for about 15 minutes, and he encouraged him and told him, if you want to be a wrestler, you do not let anyone stop you from living out your dream. You have to work hard, finish school, and work hard. You can do this. Do not let anyone discourage you from doing it. One of the nicest moments ever. And that goes to prove my point on, and the wrestler didn't know me. We never met. I knew him by watching his matches and stuff. But now we connected and he's going to give me an interview. But with all that being said, it's the love for the fans that the wrestlers have and taking time out to speak to the kids and making sure they had a great time. That is better than me meeting any wrestler in the world.
Yeah. Just them, like you said, they don't have to sit there and do that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that they take the time to encourage the next generation, to teach the next generation, that's education you can't pay for. And if you get the chance to sit down and pick the brain of somebody like that, you take every opportunity you can and you open your ears. It may not be, you may not use that information the way that they're telling you to do it, but it's always information that you have in the back of your mind that lets you modify things to, okay, now I don't have to do it the exact way that they said to do it, but I can do it and keep it, the base of what they were saying this, but still modify it to be my thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, wrestling. I love wrestling. It's like I said, there's so many things that I could say good about wrestling, and the respect I have for the business even more now since doing this podcast, and the education that I've gotten since doing this podcast is, I thought I knew wrestling, because I watched it for 30, 40 years. Yeah. Started doing this podcast and I realized I didn't know half as much as I thought I did. It's just cool to be a part of it, to be a part of, the community. I'd never put myself in the position of saying I'm, part of wrestling as far as a wrestler or promoter, anything like that. But just to be able to be on the outskirts of it with a podcast, and be that close to their orbit, and the information, the things that you're able to find out, it being in the position that we're in, is just like I said, you can't pay for that education.
It's 100%. Like you said, I sometimes I have a hard time saying I'm in the wrestling business because I don't want to come off disrespectful to any of the guys and girls who bust their ass doing what they do.
Right.
And but when they tell me, "Hey, you are in this wrestling business. You're an intimate part just like we are," it means so much. And like you said, man, I'm super respectful. Even to this day, of all the wrestling I went to, I've never been back in the locker room. I just don't feel like I have that privilege. Now
Right.
I'll wait outside, they come out, we talk and whatever, but I never want to do that. I've been, like I said, with Joe Kazana, he is such a great person. Kenzie Page, the former NWA Women's World Champion, her father, her sister, they own Crossfire Promotions in Sevierville, Tennessee. They are the sweetest people. They they make me feel like I'm family. The first time when I first started doing podcasts, and that was the show I took my wife to, was Crossfire. And Kenzie at the time, she was one half of the Women's World Tag Team Champion for the NWA. And at that show, they had Brian Pillman Jr. and someone else I can't remember. Big as far as big name. And so I'm like, hey, I had a wrestling shirt on I had made, and I'm like, I'm gonna try to see if I can get some people to show up on my show, on our show, our podcast and stuff. I talked to Brian. He was super nice. Um, I talked to Kenzie. Well, I walked by and she was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, this is my podcast." And she's like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "You want me to cut you a promo?" What? Sure, come on, let's go. She cut our first wrestling promo for us.
That's awesome.
And it meant the world to me. So mostly anytime I see her now, if she's not busy, she'll stop and cut a promo for me. And it's like, man, they make me feel like family. They just put in their Hall of Fame their Kenzie grandfather into the Hall of Fame. He's the one that started Crossfire Promotion, and they've been going over 20. I think they're hit their 21st year. And I had a chance to talk to him, and I congratulated him and everything, and I was telling him, I was like, man, your family, let me give you this praise. You raised your family so well. I said, they make me feel like family. There's never a time I come here that I don't feel like I am family. And he said, well, thank you. That makes me feel good. And I said, as it should. You raise great kids, grandkids, y'all produce such great work that every time I get on my podcast or I go on other people's podcasts, I always try to promote them and Joe Kazana. I said, to me, they feel like my home promotion. I have nothing to do with them, but they feel like my home, and they treat me like that.
Yep.
God seen me, they talk to me. The first time I had a wrestler mark out over me blew my mind. I walk in. It was Joe's show. I walk in and I'm talking to different people, and I go to get my seat. And sometimes you can see people far away and they just catch your eye. Well, the guy caught my eye, and I saw him and this woman start moving pretty quick around the ring. And I I really wasn't thinking about it. But then came up and it's like, oh my God, you're Professor Bear. I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh man, we are a big fan of yours. And I'm just standing, I'm like, you're a big fan of mine. Do you not know who the hell you are?
Right.
I was like, we kind of reverse roles. He said, man, he said, I love your podcast. We listen to it all the time. He said, man, you promote indie wrestling and you give us a vehicle. He said, I love you. He said, do you mind taking a picture? I'm like, okay, stop.
Right.
Do you not know what we're doing here? You're fanboying and I should be fanboying you.
Right.
And it was such an amazing thing. And again, I in July, I got put in the Kentucky Commonwealth Hall of Fame.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Congrats.
Thank you. And so I wasn't gonna go. I wasn't gonna do it. I told my buddy who recommended to the committee, I was like, no, man, I'm not going to insult these wrestlers. I'm like, these boys and girls who bust their ass, put their life on the line. I ain't did crap. I don't, to me, it seems insulting. Now, my friend is Joe Monroe. And Joe's like, Burr, do you not understand what you do? You give people voices. You promote everybody. You never ask for anything. You're honest with people. You help a lot of indie promotions sell and get recognized. You do that. You deserve this. So we went back and forth, and finally it got down to, you're going, even if I got to put you in a headlock. Like, enough said.
Yes, sir.
So I got to thinking about it, and I was like, man, I'm gonna need somebody to induct me. I reached out to the wrestler who marked that on me. He is the American dump truck, and he was on my show, and I was like, called him out the blue. I was like, hey, by the way, before we go live, man, what are you doing on this date? He's like, oh, I'm wrestling in North Carolina. I said, oh, okay. He's like, why? I was like, man, I'm getting inducted into a Hall of Fame, and I wanted you to induct me. He started crying. He said, I've never had anyone ask me for something that big. I said, well, it's big to me. I said, but I don't want you to miss out on a payday and stuff. He like, screw that. I'm going to be there. And he was there for me. And him and his fiance, they're some of the sweetest people in the world. Again, the wrestlers, referees, anybody who has anything to do with wrestling, they are so genuinely nice. And I always, no matter if I have a good interaction or a bad one, I always try to put myself in that position. It's like, this is not a personal thing. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you have something going on in your personal life and you're trying to get there, and I'm blocking. No problem. Which I've not had many. I've never had maybe one or two bad experiences, but that was here and there. But for me, I love giving flowers. One thing I've learned is a lot of times we tend to want to give people flowers after they're gone. I believe in giving flowers when you're alive. You can smell them, you can shine them, and you deserve praise. So the same way that they gave me that praise of getting into a Hall of Fame, which never was on my bingo card ever. I'm going to give people praise and flowers and help any way I can. And that's where I take wrestling a little more seriously than other people. I'm like, man, come on, get your name out there. You got this level. Let's try to get you to this level. Let's get you promoted where maybe a promoter in the West Coast wants you out there or overseas or wherever. That's why I look at wrestling so different than a lot of people.
It's not about you. It's about helping everybody else.
Yeah, and if I get a little shine off of it, great. If I don't, I'm
still gonna love the sport.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people look at it that way.
Yeah,
a lot of people are more like, unfortunately, society is all me, and very seldom find people that are selfless enough to be like, it ain't about me, it's about somebody else. And if I get a little bit, that's cool too.
Yeah, and because I look at it like this, and it goes back to that indie territorial thing burnt in my head. If you're blessed to get in this business, you leave this business better than you found it.
Yes.
Yes, we've said that many times, a lot of wrestlers.
If you're not going to help it, then get out of it.
Exactly.
I was going to say, there's been plenty of people that's hurt the business. We don't need that. It can hurt itself good enough. It don't need people doing it, for them.
Exactly. A dream come true. I'm going to live it and enjoy it and do what I can. And again, maybe this may be my height of wrestling business. I'm going to be so thankful, and my kids, my grandkids can like, hey, grandpa did this in wrestling. Hey, I learned this because my granddad left this, and my mom and dad, they knew about this.
Yep.
Again, I want to leave it better than I found it, and hopefully it will keep going to the end of time.
I don't think Uncle Slam's kids are going to say the same thing, but
that is true. That is true. Maybe later on in life they might appreciate it, but not right now.
They hate the podcast. They said it takes time away from Dad.
No, I get that one too. I get that one
too. They'll say, "Hey, Dad, you want to go do something?" You're like, "I can't. I got the podcast." They're like, "Oh yeah, the podcast."
Yeah. So true.
But that's the joy of wrestling. Like I said, we all love it for different reasons. We've all gotten into it for different reasons, but at the end of the day, the love of wrestling is what, the reason is overall.
Yeah.
You don't go this far with it if you don't, like I said, if it's just a little hobby, you know.
I know how much my love and how much work I put into it. And it's funny that some days I have to like, I'm a decompress. I ain't watching nothing wrestling. I'm not getting on Facebook. I'm just gonna decompress. I have wrestling in the brain syndrome. Let me. The next day, let's get it going again. Yep. I can watch 6-7 matches. Let's go.
Yep. Even the days that I say I'm going to take a break, I end up catching myself doing stuff and everything. Whether I'm necessarily posting anything or messaging somebody about a date or something. I'm sitting here. Oh, I didn't know that about wrestling. Let me look that story up. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, stop. I'm supposed to be decompressing. I'll save that link and I'll look at it tomorrow. It's been the hardest thing this past 2 weeks because where we've taken a couple weeks off because of the holidays and everything. Like I keep looking around, like going, there's just something I know I need to be doing. And I know there is. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm also supposed to be taking a little break and enjoying myself and stuff. I tried to stay off social media for couple of weeks, but it's just hard when you've got it on your brain and you like, I got to get this done, I got to get that done, I got to get this scheduled, I got to get that scheduled, I got to make sure this is on par, and it's just all running through your brain all the time.
And plus, wrestling really doesn't have an off season. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't cycle like baseball, basketball. It's 24/7.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? All year round.
Exactly. I said, okay, I'm gonna take 3 weeks off before I knew I was gonna do these 2 months marathon, and it's like I'm not doing anything. I'm not gonna do anything. Then it was like I had to cancel an interview, and I'm like, if I don't get this interview in before this, it's gonna be March before I be able to do it. And I hate to have people waiting. I was like, hey, you free on this day? Yeah, okay. Okay. I tell my wife, hey, I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but this person I'm a man of my word. Let me do. Okay. Then something else come up. Damn it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I said I'm taking some time off. I'm not doing it. Yeah, I'm free.
That's
and
sure.
Like, okay, I'm serious now. I ain't doing nothing. Man, I've been getting some great momentum. I need to be making some ads. I need to be doing this. Well, I'm sitting here, I ain't doing nothing. Let me go ahead and make this. I make a commercial. And it's like, oh. And even
suckered in again.
like yesterday, I had 4 podcasts and I was doing them. All of them came out really good. I was happy. I enjoyed the interaction. It was what I wanted out of this. But then I got to thinking, and well, first I was in between the podcasts. And I don't know if y'all can see my stereo I got set up over here. I play a lot of music to relax and wind. Well, I was happened to be going through, I have a ton of old CDs that I don't have marked, don't know what's on them. So when I'm in here doing stuff, I like to play it like, oh man, I'm glad I found that. Let me transfer it onto my computer where all my music is. Well, I'm sitting there listening, and a song from Curtis Blow came up, If I Ruled the World. And I'm just sitting there listening to it, and I'm thinking, I'm like, man, that would be a catchy-ass theme song instead of If I Ruled the World, If I Ruled Podcasting.
There you go.
Like, you know what? And I was like, I don't have to write it. Hell, I got Chad T. I can do put it in AI, it came up with it. I was like, oh, I'm like, man, I'm not about to try to rap. I ain't about to kill myself. Hey, there's a program that would do music for you. I went and did that. It came up with it. I was like, oh. And then I thought, man, that just sounds arrogant. But that's perfect. That's a wrestling heel for you. I was like, oh, yes. Then I'm like, oh, man. I'm using my regular intro and stuff for this celebration. Man, let me switch it up so people know this is a special. So the last podcast I did was like, I think we got off about 10, 15, something like that. My wife was sitting up watching football. And she was waiting on me to come to bed so we go to bed together. So she's like, I'm not going to bed until you get ready to go to bed. I said, well, babe, and I was telling her about the idea. And she's like, okay. I said, well, she said, how long do you think you're going to be? I was like, about an hour or so. I said, but knowing me, it's going to be like 2 in the morning. And I said, if it's 2 in the morning, I'm not going to wake you. I'm just going to let you sleep here. Because she sleeps with our folding chair a lot. And she's like, well, that's fine, but I'm not getting to bed without you. I'm like, okay. I get in, and I'm sitting there. And like I told her, I'm a nocturnal creature. my best ideals, things come at night. And I sit up 3, 4 in the morning. That's just my routine. So I'm sitting there creating, coming up with it. And oh man, this sounds good. Oh, I got to have this. So finally, after all that, I get it done. I'm happy with it. Okay, now I got to transfer it and use it tomorrow. Damn it. I wish I would have thought of this yesterday for the celebration, but that's okay. It's going to be good. I look up, it's 1 o'clock. Oh, oh, baby sleep. I'm going to let her sleep. And once she sleeps, she wakes up. She has a hard time going back to sleep. So she had to go to work. I'm like, I'm going to leave her alone. So now I'm already excited that I'm coming on. I'm getting to interview y'all. I get to talk again to the Dynamite Kid's daughter. She's
Oh,
gonna
that's
be
awesome.
today. So I'm already excited about that. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, but the intro. Nobody's gonna see this intro. Oh, I can't wait till people see it and see what they think. Oh, this is great. The littlest, dumbest things excite me so much about wrestling.
It's the way it is, man. And so it's the love of it, man. You can't get it out of your head. But yeah, Uncle Slam, you got any more questions for Professor Bear?
I don't think so for right now.
I don't think so either. And I think here in a few minutes we're going to transition over to his show. And guys, I think it's been a pretty good episode. We appreciate you coming on, Professor Bear. You're more than welcome to come back anytime you want to. We do special shows here and there where we do like tournaments for the greatest of, we've done the Intercontinental Championship and World Tag Team Championship. So we're kind of transitioning into other titles too and everything that we're going to do and stuff. So you're more welcome. Come on for one of those episodes, especially when we do one of them, illustrious great NWA titles, the best looking belts in the business ever.
This something. Let me adjust my camera a little bit and let y'all see this.
I see the belts in the background. I was going to ask, like, what all you have back there.
I am a big, again, NWA mark. I got the NWA World Television title. I have the US title. I got the World Tag Team. I got the Big Gold, and I got the WWE.
Those are beautiful. I love that TV title. That is like the TV title. I don't know why has always been my favorite title. Design, everything. I don't know why. I guess it's because like it was the NWA's working man title.
Yes, as I like to call it, it was the Arn Anderson Prove Yourself title.
Yes,
Double A.
That was his championship. He was, when I think of the world television champion, the first person that comes to mind is Arn Anderson, hands down.
Yep.
If I could have been in the business, no title would mean more to me, even bigger than the big gold belt, is the US title. It was something about Magnum TA that stood out to me. And as many people didn't care for Lex Luger, I love Lex. And one of my first things I ever talked about, I did a thing called the history, Professor Bear's history class. And the first thing I talked about was the Road Warriors. The second thing I talked about was the United States Championship. I love the lineage. I love how if you were the U.S. champion, that made you the number one contender for the world champion.
As it should be.
I love that. I wish that WWE had more connections to their titles like that, and I understand why they don't, but I think that it makes it makes your titles more valuable. If I can't get to wrestling to get a title shot, I can get this title and I have my back door into getting that title shot. I love the creativity in that.
Yep, it gives you. I know what you mean. I don't know how to put what I'm trying to say, but yes, it keeps that suspense building. You know, is he going to go after that title, or is he just satisfied defending that U.S. title? You know, it's like, and that's one guy right there, Magnum TA, that I think could have been a lot more had that accident not happened, but he could have been their Hulk Hogan.
He would have. Honestly, I think he would have surpassed Hogan. I honestly do, and that's not me just talking because I hated Hogan. Even as a kid, I hated Hogan. If you Google Hulk Hogan hater, you will see me sitting right beside Bobby Heenan. Me and Bobby on neck and neck on how much we hate Hogan.
That's great. Well, there's another topic for another day. We can talk about hating Hogan all day long, or loving Hogan, whichever.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that people go both ways.
Yes, there is. Well, Professor Bear, we appreciate you coming on today. Is there anything you want to plug real quick?
The major thing I want to plug is support indie wrestling.
Yes.
I mean, I don't care if you're a big WWE fan, if you're into the majors. Nothing wrong with that, and I'm not telling you not to watch it. But support your local wrestling, because you never know the athlete that is in your town maybe one day be a world heavyweight champion, and you can say that you help support them. And like we've been saying, it's a different alternative to the high prices that are being put out there. You're gonna have fun, I believe. You're gonna create memories, and similar to what Jim Cornette said, there are mud shows out there. There are some independent shows that are garbage, but then there are a lot more of great independent wrestling out there. Just keep an open mind. Keep an open mind.
Amen. I agree with that 100%. Well, guys, we appreciate everybody being here. We especially appreciate Professor Bear stopping in and giving us a couple hours of his time. Don't forget to go check out his podcast, and it is the Professor Bear podcast, right? Not Society.
No, it's actually a Bear's Thought podcast.
A Bear's Thought podcast. That's right. I got so many podcasts in my head, I can't keep them all straight.
I understand.
But yeah, go like, share, subscribe, and follow him. Like, share, subscribe, and follow us so we can all keep bringing you this great content, especially before the referee hits that bell. And I think he has hit that 3 count, so we hear the bell and we will ring that damn bell.